Hello and welcome to Muppetsational, the Muppet Show podcast, hosted by three huge Muppet fans. Join us each week as we dive into an episode of Jim Henson's classic variety show, now finally available on Disney+. This week, it's Season 1, Episode 24, starring the mask-wearing mimes, Mummenschanz. It's time to get things started on the chronological, explorational, conversational, Muppetsational! Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to Muppetsational. I am Lewis Chandler.
I'm Jade Turner.
And I'm Emma Chandler.
And we have done it! It is the last episode of the first season of The Muppet Show.
I can't believe it.
I know, it's mad.
Me either. We started this back in February.
I know. Don't even, Lewis. Don't even.
Where has the year gone?
I mean, in so many ways, Emma, that is... in so many ways. It is absolutely mad to think that we have actually finished one-fifth of the entire Muppet Show.
That's sad when you say it like that. But I'm very excited that we finished season 1. But it's also, it's just a bit mad, isn't it, to think like that we've done, this is our 24th episode. Plus a mini Disneyland.
25th, including our little...
plus our mini bonus episode. But yeah, that was 10 minutes? I don't know if we can count that.
No, I suppose that's fair.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to think that we started this back in February and it is now August.
Yeah. And what an episode to finish on.
Yes.
It be crazy.
Truly is. Let's dive in, shall we? Jade, why don't you give us some production information?
I will. So, this episode was originally broadcast on the 9th of January 1977. The production code lists it as the 24th episode made, the final in season 1. And therefore Disney Plus have included it as episode 24. It was written by Jack Burns, Mark London, Jim Henson and Jerry Jewell, and directed by Peter Harris. And that's the last time I have to say all of those names in that order. Woo!
Yay!
Emma, please, I am so curious to know what you have found out about our good friends, the Mummenschanz.
Well... Where do I begin? So the Mummenschanz are a Swiss mask theatre troupe who perform in a surreal sort of way, and they use kind of loads of different props. They were founded in 1972, and they're made up of 3 performers, and they've basically toured all over the world. And apparently the reason they turned up on the Muppet Show was the fact that Jim saw them in Geneva and then he suggested them to be on the show.
It had to be Jim. There was no way this was coming from anyone else. Anyone else suggesting this would have surely been told, ha 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 ha, get out. Jim saying it was obviously sure, we can't say no. We'll book them.
Is it still the same 3?
No, it's not.
I can't imagine so.
Well, this is what I wondered if it was a company that,
ever evolving, I think.
I believe the woman is still involved in it. Sadly, one of the men died of AIDS, so he unfortunately passed away. And then I believe that the other man that we saw on the Muppet Show, he retired, but not that long ago. I've got a feeling it was either in the 2000s or the early 2010s.
Mimes and clowns stick around for a really long time. They just keep doing that.
I couldn't believe when I saw this. Not long after they were on the Muppet Show, they did a 3-year run on Broadway and did thousands of shows. And then they are literally still on tour now. We could all book to go and see them if you wanted to.
Do you know what? It really doesn't surprise me because this falls into the Blue Man Group, the Stomp, that kind of...
Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, forever touring, forever malleable. This is a kind of show that can always keep going because it's a concept and a shtick and a style that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's, we're in August. I would not be surprised if they have done the Edinburgh Fringe or the Edinburgh International Festival
I'm sure
at some point.
Yeah.
This, at so many points, was screaming Edinburgh Fringe to me. I had flashbacks to being trapped in some, godforsaken theatre space, wondering how long 50 minutes can possibly be.
Long is the answer, Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
It is kind of crazy that they're still going, just to the effect that I can't believe that they did 3 years on Broadway. Like that but then I know what you mean, Lewis, about it being like Blue Man or Cirque or Stomp or whatever. Like it obviously does have that kind of appeal, and I suppose and
it defies any kind of language barrier as well. So any kind of tourism can come and see it because there's no talk. Words. Sorry, there's no talk.
Completely. And also, I think it's probably one of those things where, especially if it's sort of considered like de rigueur of the moment, that everyone can go and see it once. And like, yes, you might not go back repeat number of times, but if it's not playing a particularly huge theatre, then people can go one time and it can just keep running and running and running. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of running and running and running, let's jump into The Muppet Show. So, first things first, I know we usually skip past the titles, but Fozzie's joke this week about his cousin in prison. Do we think that was the same cousin we saw a couple of weeks ago in the audience?
What's going on with Fozzie's cousin?
And what did he do between the 2 episodes since we last saw him that he's now in prison?
I kind of love the idea that Fozzie maybe framed him for something after he didn't stick around for his set. He was like, you weren't a true Fozzie Bear fan. I'm gonna...
Relatable. I like that idea. I would do that.
Oh, yeah, no, that was so random, and I hope his cousin's doing well. Fred. That's what he said his cousin's name was.
Fred. And that first cut to Mummenschanz, surrounded by the Muppets. It was like something from Spirited Away.
Yes.
You know when the sort of big ghost creature comes to the sauna and they're surrounded by all these nice people, well, nice-ish people, and it's just this horrible black creature just sitting there. It's like, ah!
So, to give everyone a little bit of background on our recording today, we tried to record this yesterday and weren't able to due to some technical hitches. Luckily, we were recording today, so it's all good. But it's meant that I've technically watched this episode 2.5 times because I skipped through it again this morning. And the first time that Rich saw it was today. And when it cut to that shot of the Mummenschanz surrounded by the Muppets, he looked at me as if I was making him watch something absolutely horrendously horrific that was going to haunt his dreams forever. And then after a couple of beats, he just went, "What?" And I was like, I know.
I think that can pretty much describe this whole episode. Like, what? Like, I was the same. The first cut and I saw the creepy masks and I was like, where is this going?
I'm just glad in a way that they didn't really interact with the Muppets. I think that would have been such a... culture clash isn't even the right term, but just such a sort of mind meld of different styles and approaches. I'm glad that they were just given the space to do their thing, and then the Muppets just did their thing around it. And when you cut to that, and I was like, what are they possibly going to be doing with those masks, surrounded by that group of Muppets? Like, we're obviously not getting a song, are we? So what, my mind immediately was like, what is going on? I'm so glad that was just for that little insert, that they didn't actually do something.
Very alarming.
So I took your advice, Lewis, from our last episode, and I was like, right, I'm going to compartmentalise the opening after I've been mildly terrified by that insert and what is to come. And I was quite charmed by Mr. Bassman from the Electric Mayhem and Scooter.
Hey, Mr. Bassman, you got that certain something. Hey, Mr. Bassman, you set that music thumping. To you it's easy when you go 1, 2, 3, ba 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 ba.
You mean ba 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 ba?
Yeah, hey, Mr. Bassman, you're on all the songs with a ba 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 boom boom and a ba 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 boom boom bong bong. Hey, Mr. Bassman, you're the hidden king of rock and roll. Ba 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 ba.
No, ba 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 ba.
I found this to be a far more upbeat, full of life opening than the one that we had last week. And yeah, I just thought it was really nice, that interplay between Floyd and Scooter singing in that style. And I don't know, it's just a bit of fun and a bit of silliness, and yeah, I could take it and I enjoyed it.
I want to know the conversation that occurred between Electric Mayhem and Scooter for them to agree to have Scooter join them in a performance. Because considering the last time we saw the Electric Mayhem in a big way, they were complaining about how cheesy the Muppet Show opening theme tune was. And now they're willing to sing with one of the nerdiest characters.
The squarest of the Muppets.
The squarest of the Muppets. Like Eugene from Grease has been made out of felt. That's all I could think during this song, because it had a bit of a 50s bent as well.
Yeah.
All I could think was like, this is if you gave Eugene a song in the Grease musical. Just, why would Electric Mayhem agree to this? Why would they agree to this?
The only thing I could think of was that they're now in an ironclad contract and they had to do it.
Yeah, the Benny Bandergast Theatre has been... they had to.
Maybe they've signed a contract that says they have to do at least one song with every single Muppet from now on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine, but why would Scooter get a number?
I think we're going to be seeing more of Scooter going forward, though, aren't we? Because we know that Scooter gets numbers. He's not just a backstage Muppet, so... I
suppose so. I don't know. I mean, I realise that we're watching a 1970s puppet variety show, but even for me, the credulity of the cool resident rock band agreeing to sing with Scooter felt... To have not had that explored in some way narrative.
I think just narratively.
I'm breaking. Oh my God.
Narratively.
Narratively.
There we go.
God, I've got a case of the Emmas.
Ha ha.
You've got to be nice to me. I had COVID.
Oh God, Emma, he's going to be saying that. I'm really glad we're going to have a little break after this one.
I literally had coronavirus, okay? Like, I'm allowed to, ask for sympathy. I've been locked up by myself for 8 days. I've gone insane. This Mummenschanz thing, I thought I was just hallucinating the entire thing.
Did you see them in the corner of the room after you watched the episode? Chilling. Pulling some clay about.
Threateningly, taking post-it notes off of their eyes.
What are you going to do if Peter comes back and he's got post-it notes for eyes?
Throw myself out the window.
I think that would be fair. That's a reasonable response to that occurrence.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Bassman, Emma, what did you make of the opening?
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, it was quite sweet and it was nice to see Scooter again. But yeah, it kind of didn't quite make sense to what was happening in the backstage plot from last week's episode. With some of the openers that we've had recently, it was quite nice to see. And it was lovely to see the Electric Mayhem again and them doing a song and not anything really gimmicky, which has sort of been the case when we've seen them quite a lot recently. So yeah, I thought it was quite a nice opening. Literally had probably nothing to do with the episode, but...
No.
Yeah. It was funny seeing Dr. Teeth just put right at the back.
Yeah.
And just as a supporting pianist, considering it felt like very much for the first half of this season, he is the frontman, Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem.
Yeah.
And now it's... I feel like we haven't really had him as the kind of leader for the back half of the season. You know, even that discussion about Electric Mayhem playing the Muppet Show theme tune, it was all done via Floyd.
Yeah.
And, you know, Zoots had a couple of numbers as well. It's just funny. I know. Maybe...
I think it might come down to Jim.
Yes.
Because obviously whenever it's Dr. Teeth, it's Jim. So... I was thinking this last week, the reason it was Floyd leading the discussions was because Jim was playing Kermit. And I wonder whether also, like with this, if it just meant that Jim had relatively straightforward, you know, not that much to do in rehearsal and everything, and could just come in, be Dr. Teeth playing the piano, and let Richard Hunt and Jerry Nelson lead the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see going forward whether Dr. Teeth is, I suppose, sort of not reintroduced, but I guess reinstated as the lead Electric Mayhem figure, or whether they do lean more into the others. Next season, we should have Janice as Janice from Richard Hunt.
Yay!
So hopefully we'll get a bit more Janice as well, which will be nice.
That would be great.
Yeah, and just because it is the last episode of the season, Lewis, before we move on, are we on the scooter?
No. No.
Poor Scooter.
Look, he's got 4 more seasons to try and win me round, but as of season 1, the scooter is in the garage collecting dust.
Aww.
It's not my fault. It's his. I hope this entire 5-season arc is about Scooter learning about privilege and and him coming round to understanding that the arts is a very unequal profession, and that he should acknowledge his connections and not use them to force himself into positions where he gets to perform, but actually uplift others.
I think you're going to be disappointed.
Much like the actual industry now. Yes. Oh, dear. Anyway, speaking of the industry, we head backstage to start the runner for this week. Were either of you both briefly terrified when the camera started on Fozzie and we heard him dialing for Rent-A-Pun or, get whatever it was called? And I thought, oh God, we're going to have another week of Fozzie trying to make bad jokes or get bad jokes. And then, mercifully, the camera panned past him further upstage to hit Piggy. And I don't know about you, but I was just relieved.
Yeah, when he called, I think it was Dial-A-Joke.
Yeah.
When he rang Dial-A-Joke, I was like, oh my God, this is where he's getting his material. He's calling a paid-for number to get his material. Yeah, I was very relieved, Lewis, when it then lingered on Piggy for her to be reading her love note that she'd been left from her secret admirer. Yeah, much better than another Fozzie Bear pun-filled runner.
Did either of you have any thoughts as to who you thought Piggy's admirer was going to be?
To be honest, I didn't think it was going to be Gonzo. I knew it wasn't going to be Kermit just because of where we've seen how his character is in this first season. He's definitely not the sort of Kermit we know and love. But I didn't know whether it might have been someone like Rolf. I don't know. Maybe like George, his last little stab at showbiz, possibly.
I did kind of half wonder about George. Yeah, I wasn't sure either. I obviously wasn't going to be Kermit because that would be a much shorter love story if Kermit had left her that note.
It was quite a nice surprise for it to be Gonzo, considering we have had so little of him for so many episodes. And actually, really nice to see him out of the resident artiste mode and into a bit more of a whatever, a weirdo. I don't know.
He felt like Gonzo to me. Not quite 100%, but he felt so much more him. This sort of sense of him being, as you say, Lewis, this whatever, and just kind of having his passions and just going after them and throwing absolute caution to the wind and not basically just sort of doing what he wanted to do effectively. Like, it's hard to
quantify.
As with Gonzo, as with Gonzo in general, it's kind of hard to put your finger on exactly what makes him Gonzo, but you feel it and you know it when you see it. And this felt similar. We're definitely nearer to him as opposed to trying to be an artiste that's hitting things with a mallet. Yeah,
it definitely feels like we're getting closer. He's a bit more of a sort of happy-go-lucky loser in this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, his obsession with Piggy doesn't feel quite right, and not too much happens. He's kind of playing on one note, really, through this. But it's certainly a different note to the sort of they don't understand me Gonzo that we had for the first half of the season, and feels much, as you say, as we go into season 2, going more into a sort of happy weirdo.
Recognisable.
Yes, recognisable Gonzo.
I mean, I think it probably was fairly one note, but I guess it was also... He was kind of the foil, in a way, wasn't he, for the Piggy Kermit conversation and her being perpetually disappointed by Kermit, and, you know, when you move through the backstage runner, him setting her up with Gonzo for the date and everything, it still felt like there was a bit of development and a bit of moving all of their characters forward, even if, I'm going to be really curious to see what these runners are like going into season 2, because actually, so far, okay, we've had a couple that have done some pretty decent character work. Like, Fozzie's definitely come on some weeks with his character, and Piggy certainly has too. But on the whole, they don't have very long, do they, really? No. I mean, it probably adds up to, 5 or 6 minutes of screen time at most across the whole episode? You know, how much can you actually pack into that, you know, in terms of moving things along? I'm
going to be interested to see how the shift in Kermit and Piggy's relationship changes, because that still definitely doesn't feel right, because he is very much avoiding her with a barge pole.
But then he's still like, I don't know, there's always that interplay between them, isn't there? Like,
there
where
is,
he's more just a bit reticent, I guess, rather than
reticent. And also the entire shtick where he then ended up setting Piggy up with a date for Gonzo. Kermit would never do that.
No.
Now, if there was any sort of subterfuge, it would all be about just trying to shift Piggy's entire perspective elsewhere, not just trying to foist her off. That's the right word, isn't it?
Yeah, no, completely.
I know foist sounds a bit rude in some way.
Well, it also just made me think of, like, I don't know, like, give me your dowry and you can take the pig. Like, I don't know, it just sort of felt a bit... But no, you're totally right. Like, he would just be trying to maybe distract her or put her onto something else, or just essentially leave him alone. And then he'd still be totally jealous. Like, there's no jealousy in this episode at all from him. He was more than happy for Gonzo to take her on a date. You're right, he's not interested in her at this point. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's not been any real set, massively consistent character development, has there? Because in was it the Harvey Korman episode? No, the Avery Schreiber episode. That was when she was trying to make him jealous, and it did work a little bit.
Yes.
But again, that's not really been sustained then through the back half of the season.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see whenever we decide to start watching season 2. But we will have a break first. Emma, why don't you lead us into the first performance from Mummenschanz? Because can't wait.
Yes, so we go from that backstage runner to our first introduction and performance piece by Mummenschanz, and it's called Paper Faces. And
how did they come up with that name?
How? Yeah, it's obviously 2 performers come on, and they've got their post-it note eyes and mouths, and they kind of use that as their emotions and their reactions to one another. So they either kind of one another, yeah. And yeah, I was kind of mesmerised it, slightly freaked out by it, slightly like, how on earth are they doing that at the same time? Because obviously they're sort of pulling one off of the, the eyes to change the expression, and then
we'd gone a few weeks without an innuendo, so we were due one.
I was going to say, we are due an innuendo,
we were due one.
And then obviously when they're drawing the expressions on the mouth as well, I mean, it was pretty crazy.
I've got to say, at first, I was genuinely all in on this. I was really enjoying it and appreciating it and thought it was engaging. And even though it's 40, 50 years old, I had never seen something quite like this before, which is very surprising considering the amount of shit mime or Fringe shows, clown workshops I have had to endure in my life as an actor. that I had never seen something quite like this before. However, I'd say maybe a minute and a half in, I found myself slowly losing interest, as I feel often happens in any kind of scenario where it's extensive mime, mask, or performance work. And then all I could think was, God, imagine just being trapped watching this for 50 minutes. That's all I could think. But I did really like it at first. But then I felt it just got a bit confused.
I did not understand, especially right near the end, what the actual narrative was that they were telling. Especially that ending where, I'm going to say she, because I think was the one...
I don't think we can presume Jade, as we shouldn't in life, and particularly not with mimes.
Fine. The person on the right...
Our right or their right?
As we were looking at the television, the
okay,
right.
Fine.
The person on the right, and the reason I originally said she was because I think that character had slightly more feminine qualities. But I'm happy to go with... We'll use they pronouns, it's not a problem.
Yes.
Their face at the end had the little X cross, and their eyes were sort of bloodshot and kind of, I don't know, spaced out a bit. But then the other one, the one on the left, took their mouth and put it on their... And I just didn't understand what that meant at all.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It was once they started getting to drawing arrows on their mouth places that up until that point I thought it was really clear, and I was kind of enchanted by it, and I thought, God, this is so interesting, and imagine the rehearsal and the planning to have to do this. And even if you accidentally pulled one too many bits of paper off, or even just finding the mouth paper to then draw accurately on. So it was so clear to start, and then I thought it just got really muddled near the end and just sort of, I lost the plot, and then it seemed to speed up slightly, and I just found it a lot less engaging. But at first I was on side a lot.
It was really strange at the end. I literally have no idea what that resolution was to that little bit of narrative. I also just found, and again, maybe it is just because it was from the 70s, so some of this would just be done a little bit differently now, but I found the kind of staging with that pastel background a bit bizarre, because obviously that didn't really have anything to do with what they were doing, but because it was still coloured and bright, it still drew attention to itself rather than, do you know what I mean? So it still felt like it was sort of doing some work, but I wasn't really sure what work it was doing. And also I just found it a bit strange. I liked how they were using their hands and their arms and their legs, and that was conveying a lot of the story, especially at the beginning, and the emotion.
As one must in mask work, Jade.
as one must.
I've done a trestle workshop.
Did you find it, maybe you don't find it odd, Lewis, because you've actually done some work in this arena, but I found it odd that they were in like the leggings, that you could see their feet and you could see their hands, but it wasn't all in the black. I didn't know.
It didn't surprise me at all. Particularly the fact that it was in the 70s and they were barefoot. There was one bit later on where one of the mimes put their feet up and their feet were really dark on the bottom, and I was like, from having wandered about on a 1970s studio floor. But
I felt like I might have been slightly more immersed in it if they'd been all in black. But that's probably just me.
Oh, it didn't strike me as strange, to be honest, to have their hands and feet out. But, that's a bunch of beatniks with masks on.
I loved having the Statler and Waldorf inserts in this episode, especially when it came after the Mummenschanz performances. I think they really enjoyed them, to be perfectly honest with you. I think they were loving having a different type of performance in the theatre.
Some legitimate theatre.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what we pay that money for. I did raise an eyebrow when they said that they reminded them of puppets, and then they were like, I hate puppets. And there was that whole thing about traitor to your class. And I don't know, always feels so weird, doesn't it, when they bring up the fact that they're puppets, and you're just like,
Yeah.
no, you're
I don't
Statler
care
and
for
Waldorf. You're in your box. You're two old men. Just watch the show. Damn it.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only so it's funny. I was watching again. I've been locked inside for a while, so I've gone down some quite deep YouTube holes, and I found there was a clip of Kermit and Scooter at the Academy Awards one year presenting an award, and there was a joke where Scooter says to Kermit, "All right, just open the envelope," and Kermit's like, "Open the envelope?" And Scooter's like, "Yeah, just open the envelope." And obviously Kermit, holding it in his puppet hand, kind of looks at the envelope and then the audience and back to Scooter. That is as much as I ever want in alluding to the fact that the Muppets are puppets.
Yes.
I don't need them to use the word puppet.
Aww.
It's like putting a hat on a hat.
That feels also kind of in keeping with the Muppet tone and character of kind of acknowledging that. Whereas, yeah, calling out puppets and then then also referring to puppets as a class. I don't understand that either.
That was weird. But also referring to Mummenschanz as
Yeah.
They're mimes.
Yeah.
They are not puppets. They weren't even using puppets. Very odd.
Yeah, very peculiar. Before we move on to the library sketch of Blue Danube, I'd just like to give...
Oh, you stole my... Do you know what? For once, I actually did research and looked up that it was Blue Danube by Strauss.
Could you not just hear it was Blue Danube?
No, but I recognise the music, obviously, albeit I recognised it from the episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes to space and he's spinning around with the potato chips. But I did look it up for me to reveal that piece of information, but fine.
Sorry, Lewis.
No, it's all right. I'm just going to go back to never doing research again.
No.
Let's see if Muppets and Men get red now, Jade.
Lewis, I am absolutely not saying don't do any research.
That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting as subtext.
Your contributions are more than welcome to the podcast.
I think I'll just continue on my flights of fancy.
Anyway, before we get on to the classical tune, which I will let Lewis reveal the name of later, I just wanted to stop off at the next backstage runner with some, I thought, quite funny lines. I enjoyed when Miss Piggy said to Gonzo it was a kiss of mistaken identity. I thought that was just quite a funny little bit of wordplay. But then when he started going on about hog of my heart and hold me pig of my dreams, and then he basically sang at the end something about her porky pinkies and things. Like, I mean, it was too much pig, but I don't know, like his delivery, there was something in his delivery that just felt, I don't know, it felt quite Gonzo, I guess.
A lot of them just sounded a lot like Twitter bios of gay men that I followed. It's just... Oh dear, that's all I could think.
So then we go from our little backstage bit with Gonzo and Piggy into our sort of first sketch. And Lou, do you want to make the introduction?
Blue Danube Waltz by Strauss.
Well done.
Oh, you didn't know that, Emma.
I did. I recognised the song because when I used to do hospital radio, that used to be requested all the time.
Really?
That doesn't surprise me.
Oh, it surprises me. Oh, I don't know. Just being on a hospital ward and hearing Blue Danube, I feel like I was in some sort of strange independent film. Do you know what I mean? Just like I was like coming off of whatever meds they'd put me on after an operation. I hear Blue Danube. Am I saying it right? Danube? Danube?
It's
Danube?
Danube, isn't it?
It is
Danube?
Danube, but I feel like people call it the Blue Danube, so yeah, I don't know.
Let's go
I'm
with
a
that.
moron. It's fine. Yeah.
Don't fret. Everybody will know what we're talking about, so it's fine.
No, I thought it was really quite funny. I love the fact that we had Fozzie, Hilda, Piggy, and then Nigel, and then also the librarian. I can't remember, what was her name?
She's Zelda Rose.
Zelda Rose. Yeah.
It's a fabulous character design.
Yeah.
I love her.
She's so funny.
She's great.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a lot of fun, and it was just nice to see them all kind of interacting, and also quite interesting. I think this might be the last time that we see Hilda in a sketch.
Yeah, you're probably right there, Emma. Yeah, God.
So I was a bit like, oh, Hilda.
Are we definitely sure she doesn't come back for season 2?
I'm pretty sure she doesn't, because she's puppeted by Erin Oscar, and I'm fairly certain that Erin Oscar only worked on the first season. So I think that's why she went away as a character, was because Erin wasn't there. But I don't know, she might pop up again
In a sort of background.
Yeah.
sense. I couldn't help but think all the way through about all the different characters that we might not necessarily see
Yeah.
again. So Hilda, and then, I mean, we'll get... Do you know, I'll save that, my thoughts on that for later. But yeah, it's very strange. It's kind of like when you get to an SNL season end and you don't quite know who's coming back or not. It's like, is Cecily Strong's last thing going to be her dunking into a giant bottle of wine?
I think, like, with this one, it was quite interesting as well, because you had Hilda, who hadn't particularly thought about the fact it would be Hilda's last sketch, because we then had Wayne and Wanda waltzing on by and also causing a calamity with the bookcase at the back of the library. I mean, can they do anything right? Anything at all?
Poor Wayne and Wanda.
But yeah, that's sad. It's Hilda's last little flourish, and it was just her rustling a newspaper back and forth while Piggy and Fozzie sneezed and coughed their way through the blue danube. Like, oh.
It was also an odd choice anyway, just to use Hilda in that context. Again, Scooter and Hilda just getting onto stage and performing in actual numbers and sketches. Get backstage! You have other jobs!
I reckon Hilda was just, she thought that was actually a library, not a set. And she just turned up to read the paper and then was like, oh, I've found myself in a little sketch here.
Bless her.
You say that about Hilda and Scooter Lewis, but at least they still kind of make sense in the Muppet Show universe, unlike the next Mummenschanz segment, which...
That was crazy.
I just
upsetting.
Could not make heads or tails of.
Incredibly upsetting. And you know what? I feel like even the show and Jim were having second thoughts by the time they get to this bit. Because the fact that it's introduced just with Kermit going, hey, you think this is weird? Take a look at this. And then wipe across the stage. The difference.
It was the flip wipes, the ones that came up from the bottom to the top, that I was like, that literally feels like you're going like, turn the page, just turn the page, just get this gone.
So we had a caterpillar, a fly, and then, I mean, something with a big old tongue.
I don't know what that, I mean, it was sort of oystery shaped, wasn't it? But I don't know what it was actually meant to be.
I did not like this. Just, you know, they're falling into that kind of uncanny valley. I mean, it's kind of clever, but also quite creepy. Was somebody inside that caterpillar? Or was it somebody...
They must have been.
Puppeteering it from behind? Because I genuinely couldn't work out.
I'm pretty sure that was like someone in it with their hands and feet, you know, like raised and curved to make the shape of it. Because I think that's the only way you'd be able to do it.
Because I genuinely wasn't sure. It reminded me of something from Doctor Who. It looked like the Wirren from the Ark in Space or something. It was just...
They were all so creepy. I thought the fly was very clever. That was the one that I sort of, I guess, appreciated the most. But it's still a fly and it's still gross. And I don't really want to be thinking about flies when I'm watching The Muppet Show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I can appreciate the
artistry.
The artistry and the physicality of discovering all that and how they did it. It's just that they chose quite alarming things, I guess. You know, when you go to... Well, I mean, I've never gone because I don't have a spare 80 quid. But when you go to The Lion King, per se... And they do the big Pride Rock opening. And you've got the gazelle puppets and the giraffe puppets. And that is charming and wonder-filled because you're, you know, a giraffe is there, but you know it's a person. You know, they're not doing dung beetles and, I don't know, whatever other creepy things you'd find in Africa animal-wise. You know, they're choosing... wondrous magical creatures, and to see just a fly and a caterpillar just sort of like across the screen was just no wonder the Muppets gave a wide berth to this. You know what I mean? And just imagine, you know, just, I don't know, Electric Mayhem just smoking backstage, be like, hey man, are you seeing this like
exactly.
I am?
They're all getting back on the bus and just like, we need to lie down.
Yeah, absolutely not. Just Fozzie Bear absolutely terrified if this is what the future of entertainment is. It's like...
Emma, what did you think of them?
Yeah, no, it was terrifying. The fly, that was really creepy. And I think, like you say, the whole tone of it was quite strange. I think the whole kind of Muppets and Jim were maybe having second thoughts because it was just so weirdly introduced by Kermit as well. And he's like, yep, there's another one. You think this is weird? Wait till you see the next one.
Yeah, that was what was so odd as well, that he wasn't even trying to make it less weird. It was just Kermit being the TikTok algorithm, just chucking content at you going, hey, look at this, ain't this strange?
Oh dear.
Very, very odd.
I don't even know what else to say. It's just...
Impressive, but not for me.
Yeah, and also just, I don't think it's Muppet Show. I just don't,
No.
I can see how the other two Mummenschanz pieces have a place in a variety show to a certain extent because they're little...
God, I'd actually briefly forgotten the third Mummenschanz.
Oh yeah, there's more to come, Lewis. There's more.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a little bit of story and there's a little bit of something to kind of get your teeth into. These were too short, and this, you're right, they did feel a bit like TikToks or something. Just like, pow!
This would be something they would do, I assume, between longer sketches in their Mummenschanz show. This would be two other performers are getting into their costume or next thing. So one of them comes on and is the fly or the caterpillar for a moment. Mm-hmm. It's Madonna's changing costume so the dancers do a 4-minute piece in front of the, video.
And actually this feels more even like an art installation or something. Like you can imagine the three of them in those various different costumes, like in a large white room, and you walk around them as they
I can imagine being very uncomfortable holding a lukewarm glass of white wine, watching somebody in a leotard be a caterpillar,
eating a canapé,
and wondering whether this is actually worth it.
But it's fine because you got invited and you're there for free, Lewis. Otherwise, you would not be there.
But then somebody's like, "Do you want to go out for a cigarette?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't smoke, but I'll
join you.
I'll take the 6 minutes outside. I'll learn." Now, can you believe it? We've finally got here. It is the last at the dance.
Woo!
It's too much.
Yay!
It's too much.
Had I been allowed to go out this week, I would have got a bottle of fizzy to open at this precise moment and started drinking from here on out. But unfortunately, I have been locked up. But as soon as we cut to that chandelier, all I could think was, never again. We never have to see this again. Just,
We hope, anyway.
No, you promised.
Oh, God, I feel like I'm...
Oh, does that
Jade,
mean that's the end of Mildred as well?
This is the only sad thought I had during this. And the last Mildred, and maybe our last fun, sarcastic dancer partner of Animal, and also our screaming blonde Harridan, who didn't even show up this week.
No, she took it off. She was too busy yelling at someone. Probably the Mummenschanz.
Who were just like frantically pulling the posters off their face.
This was the only bit that I really even raised a slight smile at, was the end with the whatnots saying, "These jokes make me so mad I want to blow my top," and then them blowing their tops.
This felt so on the nose of...
Yeah.
Everybody knew that this entire segment for the entire run had been terrible and had also over-relied on explosions. So they made a joke about how terrible the material was, and then both their heads exploded. It felt like the snake was eating itself.
Yes.
It was like they had been listening to our podcast. So they went, "We're going to tell you how bad the puns are, and we're going to have explosions, and that will be the last you ever see of At the Dance." I almost respected it quite a lot to suddenly have it finish with that much clarity about how crap it had been.
Yeah, it was a fitting end, I think, really.
Yeah, it's all it deserved.
Yeah. Well, let us hope that the ballroom rests in peace and is not...
Rests in pieces from being
pieces.
blown up.
Never to darken our door again, shall we say.
Although I did like Rolf's dance partner knew what was up when he was like, "Are you horny?" And she's like, "No, I'm hungry."
Yeah.
in so many other words. I was like, relatable!
It was quite funny him saying like dumpling, cupcake, lamb chop, like every smushy nickname under the
Every
sun.
Smooshy.
I didn't actually understand the Mildred and George joke. Did either of you get it?
No.
I watched this yesterday. I cannot remember. This is why I watch the episode and then record watch the Muppet Show and then record the episode, because my ability to retain this stuff. I almost thought about watching it again this morning, and I just thought, hell no.
That's why I did watch it again this morning, because I was like, I'm never going to remember what happened, especially not in like these little sketches. No, there was a line, he was saying something about there's lots of, oh no, did she, Emma, do you remember she said something about there being riffraff, and then he said you're the only one dancing or something. It was very odd.
Yeah, I don't know if he was trying to say she was the riffraff, but yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, I mean, even for the ballroom, it just didn't even make any sense.
Yeah. Well, it's over now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You shan't be missed.
Hell no. Oh, God, this UK spot, what was this?
The underwater thing.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Well, do you know what? I thought it was quite impressive. I thought for that sort of blue screen chroma key work, there was no bad blurry line around the fish or animal, whatever it was. And also, I was very impressed by how it, in the first half, interacted so heavily with the video, in that it was well placed and then suddenly would look to the left and follow a goldfish up a little bit and round. I thought it did a lot more than I would have expected it to.
Maybe I just wasn't, I don't know. I felt like the puppeteering of the, was it an eel or a fish?
Yeah, I think it's an eel.
An eel, yeah. I felt like the puppeteering of the eel didn't have that kind of like weightless floatiness to it. It felt a little bit, not jagged in the movements, that's too strong, but it wasn't entirely convincing, I guess, is the short way of saying it before I go off on a massive long tangent about the design of the puppet.
I really liked how I didn't think the puppet worked that well. Cut.
I didn't buy that puppet was floating and swimming in the water. Like there was just a bit of a clunkiness to the movements that I wasn't entirely on board with. And also I was a bit confused about the song because it's a parody. Lewis, you probably knew this. I don't know.
Nope.
So it's from Finian's Rainbow, and it's normally called When I'm Not Near the Girl I Love, and they changed it to When I'm Not Near the Fish I Love. And I was so confused that there would be a song where they were singing about tuna and various different things. So
I just kept thinking of Under the Sea. I was like, the ray he can play, the lings on the strings, the trout rocking out, the blackfish he sings, the swift and the spat, they know where it's at, and oh, that blowfish blow under that sea, under that sea, under the sea, under the sea. I might watch The Little Mermaid. No, stop it.
Yeah, I don't know. I found the whole thing a little bit odd. But you are right. There was a cleverness to the way that they used the green screen, and the actual, like, the CG was very good. I will say that.
Because when I was trying to even think about how do you plan this, they must have found the footage, and then whoever was puppeteering must have been able to see that footage as they were doing it.
Yeah.
To be able to then follow it. It's a bit, meh. But I just thought that was very impressive, particularly for the time. Emma?
Yeah, I mean, considering some of the UK spots we've had, especially the one we had last week, which was pretty dire.
Good God.
I thought it wasn't bad. It was quite sweet. It kind of reminded me of, You know when everyone used to have those like sea monkey things?
Yes.
Yes, I had sea monkeys.
It gave me that kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
What were sea monkeys?
I don't know.
I haven't got a clue.
It was very strange. I'd forgotten I had sea monkeys.
They were kind of alive, weren't they?
Yeah, they were they were real,
Entities.
living
But what
things.
were they? Nobody knows.
Wait, did I have sea monkeys or did you have sea monkeys?
I had them. I think you had them as well.
I really can't remember.
Oh, they're a type of brine shrimp, apparently.
And they'll never get any bigger than. I just wonder if, like, if you really kept it going, could they get any bigger than the teeny tiny little, like.
Just having a look.
Do they still sell sea monkeys?
Oh my god, I hope not. They are meant to grow bigger, apparently, but apparently that's just like the claims of the manufacturer rather than anything that's actually
Claims of the
confirmed.
Oh, God.
That's what it says.
Those poor little
Ooh.
sea monkeys.
Oh god. Oh, they went to space.
What?
That's crazy.
What?
Yeah, god.
Oh my god, that would be so alarming. Wait, what? Surely they must have poured the sachet in once they were in space, because... Do you know what I mean? Like, put them in the little water tank thing they have, and then what? Strap them to a rocket with a bunch of people, and then, like...
I think they maybe went to space as eggs, and then I think they were testing to see whether they were affected by...
Millions and millions of taxpayers' dollars to test whether sea monkeys would thrive in space.
Would live in space.
Oh my god, so there's a question on their website, although this is on their website, so take this with a pinch of salt. It says that they live up to a year, but apparently many people have kept them alive for as long as 5 years.
I don't...
That sounds
Unlikely.
stretching credulity. Oh my god, I'm doing an Emma. Credulity. There we go.
Yeah, Emma
Got it out.
hasn't slipped up once today, but Jade and I
And
are
we're
just
both
like...
I've taken an antihistamine as well.
Maybe that's the key to it, Emma. Maybe that's helping.
Maybe.
We need to dose you up like Judy Garland. That's what we need to do to get you ready to perform. Quick, Judy, you've got to do another number with Mickey Rooney.
You can still buy them, which I don't think should be the case.
I mean...
Anyway, we'll move
Yeah.
on.
My next notes say Statler Blue Waldorf.
That is true.
I don't... Oh, did he blow in his ear?
Yeah.
Yeah, his face was all scrunched up, and then he blew in his ear, and his face went back to normal. It was very funny.
yes, I just had it written in all caps. Statler Blue Waldorf. It's canon. It's fact. This entire season has just been about laying the queer groundwork of Statler and Waldorf. It's all been in illusion. No, illusion. Alluded to. Jesus Christ. Rona has melted my brain.
Oh no! See now you've got my sympathy, Lewis.
Thanks.
No, it's not good if it's making your brain all foggy. It's horrible.
Dear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's all. That's all I had.
He did blow him. And they also blew bubbles in the talk spot this week.
These masks I thought were pretty cool.
They were. They also looked like they were just maybe like milk canisters or
That's
petrol
what I
cans
I
or
thought
whatever.
petrol cans.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked them.
I actually thought they were quite clever. It was just really interesting to see, because obviously Kermit starts off and then he's like, well, actually, you don't talk, so how are we going to have a talk spot? And then the next thing you know, it's kind of like the bubbles, and then you've got the one on the end who kind of opens his mouth and the ping pong ball falls out, and then he puts it into the next one. All the party streamers come out of his head and everything.
Yeah.
And it's quite crazy, but actually it was quite fun to watch and quite clever.
Yeah, I liked them. It was a bit more colourful and a bit more whimsical.
Yeah.
Not as terrifying.
Yeah. And I wonder, in having to choose what pieces they would do for the Muppet Show, it does seem strange that if they do have more light, fun, whimsical material, that they wouldn't have lent towards that as they did in just this brief moment. But I mean, I suppose it's their theatre company. They can do what they want with it.
No, completely. This felt much more Muppety, much more family friendly. As you've said, like, it was just colourful and fun.
So I suppose perhaps the fact that they weren't interacting with Muppets in any of their other sketches,
Yeah.
which I assume must have been a choice. When they knew they had to interact with the Muppets, they went for something lighter. But I don't know, I just felt like if you have this kind of lighter material, why would you not bring it to a family tea time variety show.
Yeah. Maybe even if they'd have still done the post-it notes but had done something more like this for their final number, the overall impression would have been one that was a lot more lighter and family friendly and colourful, and even that would have made a big difference. The one thing I did notice with this was that, I mean, I don't know whether they literally did it in one take or whether this was just the best take, but there seemed to be a bit of fumbling with their various masks. Like when he was trying to get the ping pong ball out, like there was a bit of fumbling, and then when the other one was trying to open the top of their orange canister to put the ping pong ball in, there wasn't the same level of finesse with those movements as there had been with the post-it notes.
I think it will have been something like when they do that sketch, usually they would be further apart. And so they would be used to being, I think, an arm's length away from one another to do it. And then to suddenly have to have them all smooshed in together to be able to fit into the frame, it probably threw off what they would usually know as their certain points. I think that's what I sort of came to think, that they do this sketch regularly, but they would have had to push in closer to get in shot. I think that's probably what would have happened.
And maybe also shorten it. I wonder whether there's like more, I don't know, more ping pong balls or
more bubbles.
When somebody gives you a note like 10 minutes before you go on stage, you're like, wait, what? You have to suddenly incorporate that into what you're doing.
Did you notice at the very end as well, there was one final bubble escaped from the first one?
Oh,
and
no.
They after it had gone out, but they then like covered their little mouth where the bubbles had been coming out from, as if it was like a little burp or something.
How adorable!
It was really funny. Yeah,
no,
it was
I did
cute.
not. But
it was very cute.
Very cute. Now, are we going to skip the next bit of backstage and go straight to the final potential appearance of Wayne and Wanda?
Yeah, I don't think we've got anything else to add about that last little, well, not the last one, but that next little Kermit and Miss Piggy nonsense, have we?
I mean, kudos to Wayne and Wanda that they have been so prolific in how terrible they are, that they have been slammed by Leonard Bernstein in the press.
I thought that was hilarious.
That's genuinely quite impressive to have one of the co-creators of West Side Story take the time to say how bad you are in national press.
I feel like Wayne and Wanda would like cut that out and frame it though.
Oh, they would. That's what's so bleak about it.
The manifestation of musical mediocrity that passes for talent in this contemporary age.
Wow, that is
classic.
Quite a burn. And what a nice set they had for, again, a 15-second gag.
So bizarre. They must put so much effort into these setups, and then they're on screen for, 15 seconds is pushing it, Lewis. I'm not even sure it was that long.
Yeah. Because they could have even have just done it in that they were in a purple or blue backdrop. Oh, God, I did it again. A purple or blue backdrop with just, a paper moon hanging to then fall. But they made a whole gazebo and a cyclorama and trees, all just to
drop a paper
Wayne.
moon on Wayne.
I was a bit I don't want to say I was disappointed in Wayne and Wanda because, that goes without saying. But I was a bit perplexed that the paper moon dropped, and that also when it dropped it made like a crashing noise, because that's not paper. I didn't understand why it didn't, it would have been funnier if the paper moon had ripped in half and then half of it had flopped onto Wayne or something, because it's meant to be a paper moon and they did not play up the fact that it was paper, and that just bothers me. I'm bothered by that.
See, I didn't mind it because I assumed the moon itself would be paper, but I liked the idea that the structure that was holding it in place was some very heavy metal. So when it fell, it wasn't just it would still be quite painful to Wayne.
You just want him in maximum agony.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't kill them. If they were fairly certain that Wayne and Wanda weren't coming back, I'm surprised there wasn't just some kind of explosion. Do you know what I mean? And that we don't see them sort of rise back up from it, like they just killed them.
Oh.
As some sort of Drop Dead Gorgeous style kind of kill them off.
Yeah. Well, he got paper cutted instead, I'm sure he'll make a hopefully not too swift recovery.
Maybe Wanda sort of joined Mummenschanz and just went off to Switzerland and became some sort of prolific mime where she never used her voice again.
Aw. Poor Wanda.
I like that idea for Wanda.
I kind of do as well.
Yeah, I'm going to make it headcanon. Wayne got amnesia from being hit by the paper moon, and Wanda, sensing an opportunity to escape, joined Mummenschanz and has spent the last... You can actually meet Wanda now, and she's some greying, like, thin, cigarette-smoking indoors, like, mime tutor. And when she drinks, she occasionally talks about her previous career as a singer in variety.
A failed singer in variety shows.
Yeah, I love this.
Well, it's probably better than the reality, which is that...
She's in a trunk somewhere.
Yeah. They got pushed to the back of the Muppet Workshop, and that was the end of that.
Oh, bless them.
Oh, dear. Another Muppet that I am assuming is at the back of a Muppet Workshop somewhere, our dear, dear friend Vendaface.
So terrifying.
For what I assume is the final appearance.
It better be. I mean, I don't even... As we cut to it again, I could not believe we were doing this for a third time.
I was so thankful.
I don't even want to talk about it. I
just want to say very quickly that I was so thankful that this one was short, sweet, and actually landed a punchline.
Zing.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Just watching Statler get punched in the face and his little face get all smushed up, like, fine. Whatever.
Well, goodbye, Vendaface. I don't need... I mean, Emma, do you have anything to say about Vendaface?
No, it terrifies me. I hate Vendaface so much.
It's really upsetting.
It's upsetting.
We can move on very swiftly, but just to say that Vendaface is having a crisis of, identity and purpose, because one week it's a psychiatrist, the next week it is changing whatnot accessories, and then the final week it just seems to have, I don't know, maybe Miss Piggy's had her hands on it, because it seems to have become completely aggressive and is just punching people. What is this machine?
I don't know. It's so weird. After Vendaface, we have this conclusion of the backstage runner. Again, this is why I need to watch the episode in the same day, because all I have in my notes is 2 turkeys with 1 chop.
Yeah, well, that was the final line.
Yeah, which I enjoy, particularly because you could call Piggy a pork chop, and... Yeah, fine, good. I'm glad she punched the lights out of both of them,
I thought it was really, really well done and very, very Piggy that she was switching so seamlessly between kissy and all lovey-dovey with Kermit and then yelling at Gonzo like, "You're breathing on me!"
Yes, I had
just
going
going crazy.
That was great. That was really good.
Yeah.
That felt very, very Piggy.
It was very Piggy, and actually all 3 of their characters felt like they were very in keeping in that little bit. Gonzo, in this manifestation anyway, being, very clingy and just kind of hanging on to her every word. Kermit shutting her down, and then it all finishing with the 2 turkeys with 1 chop. Hiya! It was a satisfactory ending to the runner, which was nice.
We then head into our last news flash of the season. And I mean, I don't know about you guys. I was a bit disappointed by this because, don't get me wrong, again, Newsflash is another segment that has gone up and down. We've had accent showcase, we've had really bad puns, we've had, I think the episode where it was Vincent Price with the guy watching the Newsflash and then the sort of furniture coming alive and then kind of eating him was quite a funny one to watch. But I just thought this one, like, the joke was just so bad. I don't even know if you guys got it. I mean, what did you think?
I mean, why did we not get to cut to a silent member of Mummenschanz as some sort of, interviewee for the news? That would have been hilarious. Just
Yeah.
Well, I was like, how are they going to incorporate Mummenschanz? And then they just didn't. I thought that would have been such a hilarious kind of mashup.
I think it would have been infinitely better if they had done something with one, if not all, of the Mummenschanz. Like, it was, when it cut to it, I was like, oh, okay, so we are getting something with them. And then they didn't, it was just him talking. It was very odd. I didn't really get the point of it as a little sketch without having something in the VT, or having it being playful again where it cuts out to like someone watching the news or something. I mean, it just, I don't know, it just felt very something of nothing, really.
Yeah.
There just wasn't anything there. And then, I mean, was the punchline just simply that the old man smells funny? Because that's not really anything, is it either?
No.
It was just trying to pile on the ludicrousness, wasn't it, of having 100 and something children and 200 and something grandchildren, and I'm hoping for more for Muppet Newsman come season 2, because I love him and I want to touch him. So, also, does he usually wear glasses?
Yeah, I noticed that he was missing his glasses.
I've taken them.
That's where they are.
There they are.
Lewis has got them.
I took them from his nightstand. No, that's creepy. That's what it's.
I think Peter's been away too long.
I didn't fuck that Muppet. I didn't. Oh God! Well, at least there's my. And Lewis did not fuck that Muppet. Is my little podcast line for that.
We've got 2 of them because I think Emma should be Emma hates Vendaface.
Yeah. I think that's it. Emma hates Vendaface.
Oh dear.
Oh God. Right, let's just move on from this and just let's get to the last Mummenschanz performance, which, okay, I did like this, but it was creepy and it went on too long. But I have never seen something quite like this before, and that was interesting. Thoughts?
I agree. I haven't really seen anything like this either, and I thought it was a really, really interesting kind of premise, and I think some of the things that they did were really, really well done. You know, you spoke before about how much preparation and practice they must do on the post-its. Equally with this, you know, to be able to do some of those manipulations with clay as quickly as they were, they must have done this over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But there were parts of it that I just did not understand at all, and it definitely went on way, way too long. I know it's their big finale number, but
You were like, wrap it up.
Sorry, just
the bit that I really didn't understand was the one that was on the right as we're looking at the television.
Yep.
They did their long, long chin and their spiky hair and
very V for Vendetta mask.
yeah, exactly. Did that kind of mask shape. And then they didn't do anything with it for the vast majority of the sketch. They were just sat there, basically like air stroking their moustache and like playing around with their hands and not actually manipulating their face at all. While the other one was smooshing and pulling and dangling and doing all sorts of things. And that one just sat there. And I was like, I don't get this. I do not understand why you've just decided like, oh, I'm done. I've done my face. And that was basically it until we ramped up to like the very end of the sketch.
Yes, couldn't follow any kind of through line at all beyond the one on the left trying to build an equally conventional face but failing. But at the same time, it was quite mesmerizing. It kind of reminded me of, you know, the scene in Brazil where the woman's getting the surgery done and it's all just a bit kind of like stretchy. But I was kind of impressed that I hadn't seen some version of this in the 40 or so years that mime and clowning and me having to sit through it has occurred, that I haven't seen anything quite like it. Maybe clay is just very expensive now. I wouldn't know.
I think it's also quite difficult to actually keep it in that level of like elasticity.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all done stuff with clay in primary school and whatever, and like, you know, to actually have it be that malleable is not easy. That's not an easy thing to do. So
yeah.
Also, it must be really heavy. Imagine how heavy that is on like the front of your face. That's not.
And also, I was thinking, how are they breathing?
Yeah, it was just really. I just couldn't take my eyes off it. And even though it did feel a little bit like it went on too long, in nowhere near as much as the post-it note faces, and that was substantially shorter. I could have just watched a really long, slow video of somebody just slowly playing.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like something they'd show on BBC4 for 45 minutes of just somebody manipulating a clay face.
No, I'm with you. There was something about the process of it that was quite mesmerising, but I didn't feel like it all coalesced into something entirely convincing for a variety show.
Yes. I think that's fair.
Although, you know, I appreciated that they'd added in, I mean, whether or not this was naturally part of it or not, but, you know, when the one on the right did fall flat on their face and ended up with the completely, you know, straight slab of clay, and then they both obviously smushed together at the end with the fight, there were parts of it that I was like, okay, yeah, but overall, I don't think it quite worked for the purposes of this. But I'm sure on stage, or as you say, Lewis, a sort of long take of just one person repeatedly moving and creating different faces and shapes out of it would be really interesting to watch.
In news that will surprise no one, I did want to touch it.
Emma, did you want to touch it?
No.
What's wrong with clay?
Is that it?
That's it. Yeah, no. I think I just agree with you guys. It was quite interesting to see to start off with, because just the way they were manipulating the faces, and obviously I don't even know how they managed to do that, but it did go on for too long, and I don't know, it kind of lost its appeal. I mean, it was quite clever at the end, like you say, when he kind of like smushed the face and it was like flat, and then they had their little fight at the end.
And when they merged together as well.
Yeah, that was quite clever. But it definitely did seem like it went on for too long.
Yeah.
I don't know, I could have just kept... I don't know. Anyway, but yes. Mummenschanz. Do you know what? Part of me is genuinely intrigued about maybe going to... I can't believe I'm saying this, but I wonder if I was offered the opportunity to go and see Mummenschanz. Oh, a helicopter's going by. Sorry. Sorry. Anyway. What was I would probably go and see Mummenschanz, I think. I think I would.
I'm intrigued to maybe find out a bit more about what they're doing now. Yeah. I don't know if I'd necessarily be interested in seeing a show.
I wonder if they have a TikTok. Hang on.
I'm sure they have well, maybe. I don't know. That might be a bit. But if I mean, presumably they've sort of moved with the times and everything, and if they're doing something that's...
Sorry.
Was that your phone making that noise?
To see if they have Moomin.
Oh, okay. I thought I was going crazy.
Because I could hear voices and I was like, what's happening?
I can hear voices. Yeah, if they've moved with the times and sort of kept innovating and kept doing things that do genuinely kind of push the boundaries of mask, pantomime, whatever else, then yeah, I think that's probably quite interesting. But I don't know if I'm necessarily interested in seeing something that's exactly in the vein of what we saw on the Muppet Show.
Ooh, they've got a lot of stuff on YouTube. I mean, some of it is from the Muppet Show, but there seems to be some other interesting things as well. Sorry, anyway, I'm back. No TikTok, though, which feels like a missed opportunity. If I was going to be their millennial social media person, I'd be like, let's get the Mummenschanz on TikTok.
How long have you got till Peter's back, Lewis? You can go down a Mummenschanz YouTube rabbit hole.
I never want to look at another screen again, ever. I have watched so much stuff that I'm bored out of my mind. It's been awful. Anyway, sorry. Right, let's finish this off. Pig power. That's all I've got.
Pig power.
Pig power was great.
That was awesome.
Pig power was really
the radicalization of Miss Piggy over this season.
It was how close she got to the camera when she was doing it as well. She was basically like in the lens with her arm and fist raised, just like, pig power. It was great. It was very funny.
It's nice to see them with their masks off.
Yeah.
I did feel I was getting slight cult vibes from the way that they all said together, "Thank you, Kermit. It's been great."
I know this sounds real. I was hoping the men would be more attractive. Because, do you know what? Sometimes those physical theatre or clown performers, they take their masks off and you're going, why are you hiding the moneymaker? Like, what? Whose idea was it for you to hide this? But in this case, I was like, oh, okay.
You keep that fly face on.
Yeah. But that's just me being purely, just basic and horny and lonely. Just being like, I wish the mimes were hot. very attractive.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was it.
She was.
But yes.
And they're in a cult, Lewis, so you don't want to get involved with that anyway.
Not again.
Not again. Not twice in 1 year.
Not again.
The finale had very divergent vibes, I felt like, because you had Piggy and Gonzo, still going crazy, and then you had them come on and be these very demure Swiss types.
Demure Swiss.
Chalk and cheese.
Chalk and Toblerone.
And before we wrap up, I did just want to give a very quick shout out to the Statler and Waldorf button on the end, which I think maybe we should clip out and put on the end of all of our episodes going forwards, where they said, "Funny show. I wonder if they meant it that way."
I wonder if at this point they knew they were going to get a second season or not.
That's a good question. I don't know when it got renewed, actually.
Something for me to look up of Muppets and Men during the break.
You treat yourself.
Oh, well. It's going to be a very strange dynamic if I come back as some kind of font of knowledge. Emma's going to have to become the wacky one.
Oh, God, Emma. Lewis can teach you all his hints and tricks.
It's just a desperate need for attention is all it's required. Anyway, I think it is time for us to get on and rank this episode, because we've been going for nearly an hour and a half, which...
Christ, how did we talk about Mummenschanz for that long?
I don't know. How many ways can you say I'm alarmed?
A lot, apparently.
But before we get onto the ranking of the episode, we must, as we every week... Oh my god, I can't even do this anymore. Decide upon our MVMP, our most valued Muppet performer. Emma, who is your MVMP for the week?
My MVMP for this week is gonna be Gonzo. Yay!
Oh.
Yay! It was so nice to see him again, although I did feel a bit sorry for him for the fact that he got karate chopped by Piggy so many times. But it was lovely to see him develop as a character, have a bit more interaction with Piggy and Kermit, have a bit more of a storyline, not be the crazy artiste that we've seen in some of the previous episodes. And it was just nice to see him again. So yeah, for this episode, my MVMP is Gonzo. How about you, Jade?
Yeah, Gonzo is also my MVMP, because I realised that for obvious reasons I've not given it to him for the entire season, and I was like, this feels like the opportunity to give it to him for season 1. All the reasons you've just said, and I think what it crucially boils down to for me is that Gonzo feels like he's being treated as a main character in this episode, and that even if he still feels a bit one note and it's not quite 100% the Gonzo that we all know, that feels like a massive step forward. Just that he's getting a storyline and that he's interacting with Kermit and Piggy and everything. So, yay, Gonzo! I can't wait for season 2 to see how he becomes even more Gonzo-y, even more whatever-y, and just leans into the daredevil that we all know him as. So yeah, Gonzo. Lewis, how about you? Who's your MVMP?
In some sadistic way, I'm almost tempted to say Wayne and Wanda. Just because they've been through 24 weeks of torture. Hell. That actually, maybe I should just give it to them, because they're never gonna... Leonard Bernstein hates them. Do you know what I mean? There's no coming back from that. But actually, I think I might just choose the librarian.
Yes.
Just because she was really...
Zelda Rose.
Just because her face really made me laugh. And Wayne and Wanda have very rarely done that. So you know what? In typical Wayne and Wanda fashion, I'm going to overlook them and choose Zelda Rose, the librarian, merely for just turning around and having a funny face. That's it.
That's fair.
All right. I think it is time for us to do our rankings for the week. Emma, what are you giving the final episode of season 1 of The Muppet Show?
Now, this was quite tough for me, because I think I had a lot of expectation on what the last episode would be like. And to be completely honest, I was a bit unsure of what I was going to give it. So, for this episode, I've decided to give it 6 Mr. Baseman's out of 10 purely because as a guest, Mummenschanz was quite an odd choice, and there were bits where it was really mesmerising, really interesting, but as we've already discussed, some of the sketches did go on for too long, and I especially thought that with the last sort of piece that they did. But equally, it was really lovely with the backstage business for this episode that we saw a bit of growth with Gonzo. You know, we had Miss Piggy and Kermit, and that I thought it was quite strong in comparison to things that we've seen before. And actually, I didn't mind the UK spot. It was quite a good talk spot, and that's been quite patchy as we've gone on through the episodes. But then, you know, Vendaface terrified me. I was disappointed by Muppets News Flash. And like I said, you know, At the Dance was okay, but I'm kind of glad that's gone. So that's why for this episode and for this final episode, I've decided to give them a 6 out of 10. How about you, Jade?
So I struggled as well a little bit about what to rate this, because I feel like I did enjoy it more than the Kay Ballard episode, but it's definitely not obviously one of my favourites, as I'm sure our conversation has borne out. So I ended up going with 5.5 hog of my hearts, because I think there was something there, and I agree with you, Emma, like the runner was a lot better this week than we've had in plenty of other episodes. I did like the opening this week as well. I compartmentalised it, but actually like it started on a high note, so that was good. And I didn't mind what they brought. It was kind of interesting to see something different from the guest, but equally, I don't know if it fully works for the Muppet Show. Yeah, and then I just felt like a lot of the other sketches felt quite throwaway in a way. Like there was lots of little things, but they didn't necessarily kind of build to anything grand or bigger. And I don't know, like, it's a bit of a shame that this is the final episode of the season, because I think when you look back at some of the ones like the Ethel Merman, that would have been such an amazing finale to the season, to finish with her singing No Business Like Show Business, and that whole episode.
Sorry, I'm just suddenly imagining Ethel Merman having to watch Mummenschanz.
She must have. They did 3 years on Broadway. She must have gone at some point.
This feels like different worlds. Like to think that Ethel Merman and Mummenschanz were on the earth at the same time, both performing on Broadway, feels very bizarre.
It's just not quite right.
Yeah,
but so I think it is a bit of a disappointing end to the season, really. But there's still glimmers in there, and I think the runner is a case in point in that the show as a whole is obviously moving in the right direction. And it's just nice to wave goodbye to things like At the Dance and Wayne and Wonder, and just sort of look onwards and upwards to hopefully new, more fully realised sketches and songs and pieces. So yeah, 5.5 hogs of my heart. Lewis, for the final time in series 1,
I know.
What is your rating?
I am following the same as you, Jade. I'm giving it 5.5 incarcerated cousins out of 10. Mummenschanz are an odd guest for the Muppet Show, but apart from the strange animals in the middle, they are quite compelling to watch as a piece, even if they go on a little bit too long. So I kind of took them almost in the same way that I take the first number. I almost just, because it was so easy to separate them from the Muppet Show, because the Muppets didn't really interact with them. I wish there had been a bit more of the interaction that we did see in the chat spot, because that felt very sweet and fun. But it was still incredibly intriguing. Otherwise, it was quite a pedestrian episode of the Muppet Show itself. There was some nice characterization in the backstage runner, slowly getting Gonzo that we recognise and love. Some nice moments from Statler and Waldorf. But yeah, glad to see the back of Vendaface. Very excited to see the back of At the Dance and the end of Wayne and Wonder. I think I'm just really excited to see what season 2 is going to bring us. I wonder how much they will learn during their own break and what kind of style it's going to come back in. It's very intriguing.
Well, and crucially, Jerry Jewell becoming head writer will make a world of difference.
Hopefully. So, Jade, for, I think, the final time ever, from
Yes,
you
I
at
think
least,
so.
we're still going to, we've got production meetings to be had between this and the second season. Our final bit of Muppet philosophy.
So before I launch into the Muppet philosophy, which I will do in just a moment, I did just want to mention to you both on the podcast that I did treat myself to something.
Oh my god!
Ooh.
But no, Jade, no, because now I'll never read it because I know you've got it.
No, you still need to read it, Lewis. We'll do book club. Just for the listeners at home, I've just held up of Muppets and Men. I didn't pay full whack for it. I managed to get it for quite a good deal on eBay.
How much did you pay for it?
I'll tell you off air.
No, tell us on air. We can cut it.
No, I'm telling you off air. I'm not telling you on air.
No,
But
come
what I
on. We
did
can just
notice
blank it
when I was
out and then
flicking
we can
through it-
react to it. Just tell us.
It was. I don't know whether you're going to see this. It's a first edition.
Ooh.
Ooh, maybe I should look what mine is. Although annoyingly,
Yeah, I was.
mine
gonna
has
say
a
to you to-
tear on the dust cover.
Oh, this is
Oh, yeah.
is pretty trashed. This is from a library, so it's pretty well thumbed. But I've got it, so I'm very excited to have it in my possession. But we can do book club, Lewis, so it'll be fine.
Oh, crap. Now I really do have to read it.
So to get on to Muppet philosophy, the final one, I thought what I would read for this final segment on Muppet philosophy is the letter that Jim Henson wrote to his children to be read after his death. And it's not, obviously there's definitely a hint of sadness there, but it's also quite in the vein of the memorial segment that I read last week as well. There's plenty of hope and, the usual Jim optimism within it. So from Jim Henson, the biography by Brian J. Jones, Jim Henson wrote to his children, "First of all, please don't feel bad that I'm gone. While I will miss spending time with each of you, I'm sure it will be an interesting time for me, and I look forward to seeing all of you when you come over. I feel life has been a joy for me. I certainly hope it is for you. Life is meant to be fun and joyous and fulfilling. May each of yours be that. Having each of you as a child of mine has certainly been one of the good things in my life. Know that I've always loved each of you with an eternal, bottomless love, a love that has nothing to do with each other, for I feel my love for each of you is total and all-encompassing. This all may sound silly and over the top to you guys, but what the hell? I'm gone and who can argue with me? To each of you I send my love. If, on this side of life, I'm able to watch over you and help you out, know that I will. If I can't, I'm sure I can at least be waiting for you when you come over. Please watch out for each other and love and forgive everybody. It's a good life. Enjoy it. Love, Jim."
Aww.
God, that's so lovely.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's so cute.
I do not think I would have that kind of grace heading into my own death. I would be like,
No.
God, he's such a wonderful man.
He really is. And I think it's just that sense of him giving so much, not only to his family, but to the world. He really did give so much. And we're so lucky to be able to still enjoy the dandelion seeds, as we spoke about last week, of what he planted and what's kind of filtered through to the world.
What a lovely way to put it. Well, although this is the last episode of the first season of The Muppet Show, we will be back next week to do a season wrap-up, of which we have not planned or considered yet. So we will be frantic on our WhatsApp group deciding what that is going to be. That will be our last episode of this season, and then we will take a belated summer break. But then we will be back, refreshed. My brain will no longer be broken by coronavirus, and we will launch into the second season of The Muppet Show and Muppetsational.
Yay!
Yay!
Woo!
I mean, just from all of us, it's been such a pleasure doing this show, and we have been so overwhelmed by the response we've gotten from you, our listeners, and, getting mentioned in The Guardian was very cool.
Crazy.
And, and just, all the nice reviews that people have left for us on Apple Podcasts, and even just being welcomed into the Muppet online community in the way that we have, from whether it be other podcasts or just on Twitter. It's really lovely and one of the nicest things that's happened this year. So, I mean, I don't want to speak for all three of my... Jesus. I don't want to speak for all of my podcast hosts, but thank you from all of us. It's been a real pleasure. But we'll do this again next week anyway, but you know.
No, it's truly been amazing. It's such a privilege to do this, but also to have had such a warm and lovely reception is very overwhelming. So thank you all very much. We genuinely can't wait for season 2, even if we are definitely taking a little bit of a break because
yes,
it's a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you everyone for listening. It's been a really fun journey, and it's just been really nice to see our listeners grow, and like you said, the bit in The Guardian and reviews and interactions we've had with the listeners. It's been great.
It has. Anyway, we're doing this all again next week anyway, so it's not quite over. But thank you so much for listening to Muppetsational. If you've enjoyed the episode, God, you'd think after 24 weeks I would be able to do this. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, as it really helps spread the word about the podcast. You can follow us on social media. We are at Muppetsational on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. You can contact us at hiho@muppetspodcast.com, and you can find out more about us and the podcast at muppetspodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week for our end of season roundup. Until then, I've been Lewis Chandler.
I've been Jade Turner.
And I've been Emma Chandler.
We shall see you next week for the final episode of the first season of Muppetsational.
Woo-hoo!
Bye.
Our theme music is Peppy Pepe by Kevin MacLeod, and our artwork is designed by Charlotte Rudge, who you can follow at Charlie_R_Rudge on Instagram.
That was a funny show.
Yes, it was. I wonder if they meant it that way.